Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahmavidvaram Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकोमलाङ्गं सीतासमारोपितवामभागं पाणौ महासायकचारुचापं नमामि रामं रघुवंशनाथम्. Hari Om to all. In the first session, we saw the introduction of this wonderful text, beautiful short composition of Pujya Guruji, Isha Stuti. We saw that what is the meaning of Stuti, what do you mean by Isha Stuti, and what is the speciality of this Isha Stuti. That generally praise is for pleasing somebody and that person really wants to listen to the praise. Whereas here, Lord is not somebody who is waiting that we will praise him. We also saw that praise is generally in some kind of exaggeration. But in case of Bhagavan, that is also not true, because any praise that we can, do for Bhagavan is still less than what he actually is. Having said that, we saw that this particular text, Isha Stuti, which is a short text, is actually not praising the Lord in a usual way. But it is actually to think about who is this God, what is this God, what is his nature, how can we benefit from understanding his nature. That kind of what we can say as Vaicharika Stuti. It is more like a reflection on the important topic of God. Why? Because this topic has fascinated generations and generations of people and thinkers, and many have got various views about this. That's what Pujya Guruji says also in very first verse, Bahudha Chintya Kalpyamanaha api, that this Ishvara is such who is thought about in various ways, and still nobody can say that I have understood it completely. Why? Nirvikalpassa vartate, because the nature of the Lord is such that it is nirvikalpa, without any thought. It's beyond all imagination, conceptualization, intellectualization. It's beyond all that. And therefore, how much ever we try to understand, how much ever we try to explain, it is still a facet of the Lord. It is not the Lord completely. Why? Because the actual Lord is beyond all kind of explanation. Right? But we can understand different facets of the Lord. Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam, yaha, one who is the Lord of all beings, tameva namamahe. We prostrate, we bow down to that Lord. So here we understood the concept of Ishvara according to Advaita Vedanta. Ishvara is not a new term for Advaita Vedantins. Please note, many people think that Advaita Vedanta is only about Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. It is not like that. Ishvara is very much integral part of the entire discussion of Advaita Vedanta. Let us not forget that one of the most important texts of Advaita Vedanta is Bhagavad Gita, which is given by the Lord Krishna himself. Right? So it's very much integral part of Advaita Vedantic concept. Who is this Ishvara? So we saw Nirguna Nirakara Parabrahma Paramatma, the supreme reality which is without any attributes and without any form, expresses itself, so to say, in Saguna Nirakara Ishvara, where it's got attributes now, attributes of being the cause of the creation, sustenance and dissolution of the world, being the all compassionate, all knower, all powerful, all pervasive Lord. But it still has no form. And because there is no form, there is no gender. This Ishvara is one. Now, since it doesn't have any form, it can express in many, many forms, as many as we want. Sometimes it is also said that we Hindus, in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, we have 33 crores of devatas. Okay, that is also not true, because we are not understanding 33 koti, we say, no. Koti is not crore. It means that is one meaning of word koti, but koti means group. We say also, no, in Hindi also it has come, ye to bada uchcha koti ka aadmi. We are not talking about crore, we are talking about a group. So there are 33 types of devatas. I am not going to go in detail, but the point is that since the Ishvara is one which has no form, it can take as many forms as he wants. And these different forms are also worshipped as Ishvara. So we saw example of Trimurti, we saw Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, how the forms are there, why those particular forms to satisfy that particular function. And also female forms are there of Devi, Saraswati, Lakshmi, Durga and Ganesha. Very, so, for the foreigners, etc., they are very weird looking gods. You have one god with fat belly and which has got elephant head, etc. Then you have another god which has got lion head, another god with horse head. What is all these things? These are all just different kinds of expressions. These are different forms for those particular functions. That concept also we have seen. So that Saguna Nirakara Ishvara, when takes form, it is called as Bhagavan, Saguna Sakara Bhagavan. And sometimes this Bhagavan also takes avatara, incarnation, where he becomes available for human perception, Drishti Gocharatva, and that is called as incarnation avatar, which is also Saguna Sakara Rupa of Bhagavan. And therefore, if you ask the question, how many gods do we have only one God in many forms. All forms are equal for us, right? Last session in the question answer, we have also understood that concept of Devata is different. These are posts. Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, etc. These are posts. And that is not considered as God. That is the deity. They have got particular department to take care in the world. And they are created by the God, right? So the good side of the God's creation are all those deities, right? So this much concept we have understood. Now, going forward, it was also mentioned by Guruji that it is indeed a wonder that God's glory is so evident. Still people keep on discussing, debating about the existence of the God and his knowability, etc., etc. About that we also had seen one important point, that the existence of God is not dependent on our belief or our understanding. I hope you are making note of all these points, because these are very, very important points, not only to tell somebody but for our own clarity. Going forward, at some point of time we may get the doubt again, so we have to go back to the notes and get the clarification required. So what is the point? The point is, God's existence is not dependent on our belief or our understanding. But if we believe and if we try to understand, we will be helped. We saw the example of law of gravitation or electricity, etc. If we believe and if we try to understand, we can make use of those powers. In the same way for God also, right? We saw that various concepts of God or views about the God which exist are not new. They have been there for millennia together. These are not new concepts. Theism, atheism and agnosticism and agnosticism, all these are not new things. They have always been there. But we need to critically think and understand, are these views right? Do we even need to get into the discussion for all these things, right? So here Guruji is helping us to understand the existence and the nature of God in a very, very simple way, in a logic that we can apply it anywhere. We don't even have to go for a very, deep and critical, simple logic. One logic that he gave in the third verse is, in the world we see that any work needs a doer. Any effect needs a cause. Now, if in the world it is true, examples are given, Geetam, song, Vadyam, instrument, Nrityam, dance, Natakam, drama. In all of them, painting, you take anything. Example one more was given, Bhavanadi Nirmana Karya api drishtam. That to build a house also, you need workers. You need an architect, you need an engineer, you need workers. Without that, it will not happen. Now, if small things in the world cannot happen without the doer or the cause, how do we come to this conclusion that the whole world came on its own? There must be the cause of the world. There must be somebody who created the world. Right? So, that is where we are. Evam hi asya jagatah karta api asti devaha. That creator, that cause is what we are calling as God. Now, you don't like the word God, you want to call it as something else, that's fine. There is no problem with creating new nomenclature. Only thing is that people will not understand you. That's the only thing which will happen. You can create your own nomenclature also. No, God, I don't want. Ex-God. Okay, what is this ex-God? Like X-Man is there, no? Man with supernatural power. Like that. God with supernatural power. Ex-God. You create a name, you call that. That doesn't matter. That won't change the fact that that is what is the cause of the world. Now, to understand this cause of the world, we saw the 3 laws of causation. We just started the discussion on it. As Pujya Guruji Swami Tejomayananda would often explain, first law is that an effect cannot be without a cause. So, each effect must have cause. Yat karyam sa tat sakartrikam. It must have a cause. So, if the world is there, it must have a cause, which is different from the world. See, something which is part of the world cannot be cause of the world. The cause of the world has to be something different from the world. Now, second law says that effects are nothing but cause in different form. So, the entire world is nothing but that cause in a different form. Means what? The cause has become the world. Now, that cause which we don't know, we call it as X, we call it God, we call it anything. Now, that God has to be someone who is the cause of the world, and the world has to be a different form of the same cause. Law number 2. Law number 3 is what we have to reflect on more. The third law says, from the effect, when the cause is removed, nothing of the effect remains, nothing remains. So, if we want to find out what exactly is the cause of the world, we have to find out something which, when removed from the world will not exist. That is the material cause of the world. Just as from the ornament, gold ornament, when the gold is removed, nothing of the ornament will remain. The form also will go. Why? Because the gold is everything. Right? From the table, if you remove the wood, the table will not remain. From the pot, when you remove the mud, the pot will not remain. Like that. Now, from the world, if we remove what should be removed that the world will not remain, that is what we have to think. So, we can go on discussing and reflecting on this, but let us go in quicker steps. Right? All the gold ornaments are made up of gold. All the wooden things are made up of wood. All the water things are made up of water. Now, if we break down all those things, finally, everything will come to the 5 elements. Because these are the basic material with which the entire world is made. 5 elements. Space, air, fire, water, earth. These are the 5 elements. With this only, everything that we see is made up of. Whether it is a body or inert object or the mountains and the rivers and big, anything and everything is made up of these 5 elements in different proportion. Now the question is, what is that which when removed from these 5 elements, the elements will not remain? Now we can go on tracking it. But simplest thing is, easiness. When removed from them, they will not exist. Gold is, wood is, mud is, water is, earth is, space is, fire is, air is. Is if you remove, they will not be there. So this isness, this existence has to be the cause of the world. Also, we just now said that cause of the world has to be different from the world. Correct? Now, everything that we know is part of the world. There are only two entities which are different from the world. Anybody who has studied Vedanta will immediately get this point. What is that? One entity is called as Brahman, the supreme reality Brahman. And another entity is what? Another entity is Maya. Brahman and Maya. These are the only two things which are different from the world, which can be the cause of the world. That's it. Because other than that, nothing else is there. Other than the world, there are only two entities that we know. One is Brahman, another is Maya. Now, this existence which we are talking about, which when removed from the world will not remain, because which when removed from the five elements will not remain. This existence is what we are calling as Brahman. Sat. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So that Satya existence is what is Brahma. Satyam Brahma. So that existence is Brahman. Now Maya, no. Think, if Brahman has to be the cause of the world, it is not possible that Brahman can be the cause of the world in a usual way that we understand the cause and effects. Why? Because if we start to talk about Brahman, it is Nirguna, Nirakara. There exists nothing other than Brahman, so it cannot be cause of anything because there is nothing other than it. Brahman alone cannot be the cause of the world. World cannot be the cause of the world. Brahman cannot be the cause of the world. What about Maya? Vedji, Maya can be the cause of the world. Why? Because we have studied what? Brahmashraya sattva-rajas-tamo ganatmika Maya asti tatah akasha sambhutah akashad vayuhu vayos tejah tejas apah adbhyah prithvi. We have studied this. That there is something called as Maya, which is Brahmashraya, which is depending on Brahman, and from that Maya, space has come, from space air has come, from air fire has come, from fire water has come, from water earth has come, and now from these five elements the entire world is created. Whether it is gross world, subtle world, everything is created with these five elements. And all these five elements have come from Maya. Therefore, Maya is the cause of the world. Okay, fine. But there is one problem. What problem? Maya doesn't have independent existence. We just now said, no, Brahmashraya sattva-rajas-tamo ganatmika Maya asti. Maya is Brahmashraya. So Maya without Brahman cannot create anything. Brahman without Maya doesn't know anything. There is nothing other than Brahman. So Brahman without Maya cannot create. Maya without Brahman cannot create. So when Brahman and Maya are so to say together, that is what creates the entire world. Step by step. Anything which is part of the world cannot be the cause of the world. So cause of the world has to be other than the world. Now other than the world there are only two things, Brahman and Maya. Brahman without Maya cannot create because there exists nothing other than Brahman. Maya without Brahman cannot create because it doesn't have any independent existence. It is inert by nature. It cannot create on its own. Therefore, we say Brahman plus Maya creates the world. Now, this Brahman plus Maya is what we call as Ishvara. So, Ishvara is equal to Brahman plus Maya. You can remember this formula. Ishvara is equal to Brahman plus Maya. Now, Vedji, I have one doubt. Okay. What is the doubt? You said Brahman plus Maya? Yes, I said. So, that means there are two things, Brahman and Maya. Yeah, so that is Dvaita, duality. Why? Because there are two realities. Now, there are no two realities. This is Advaita. What is Advaita here? See, when we say Brahman plus Maya, what is that Maya? Maya is something which is not there. Ya ma sa maya. Ya, that which, ma is not there. Nahi hai, ille. There is nothing. Ya ma, that which is not there, that is called as maya. So Ishvara is equal to Brahman plus that which is not there. Means Ishvara is equal to Brahman plus 0. Means Ishvara is equal to Brahman. That's what we are saying. But Veji, this is very much confusing. If Ishvara is Brahman, then why are you giving separate name to it? That is because we are seeing the world, we think that the world is real, we ask the question again and again, who is the cause of the world? Brahman cannot be the cause of the world, we have to posit some other cause, therefore we say Ishvara is the cause of the world. Who is Ishvara? Brahman associated with power of Maya. What power of Maya? That which is an illusory, imaginary power which is not there. Anything that is created of illusory power is also illusory, and therefore world also is not there, and therefore Advaita is Advaita. We have not compromised on Advaita. For the sake of explanation, we have to posit all these things. Why? Because we are seeing, see, let us take example. Very, very famous traditional example of Advaita Vedanta. Okay. No session on Advaita Vedanta can conclude without this example. What is that example? The example of rope and snake. It has to come. Without that, the teacher also doesn't feel right, the student also doesn't feel right. Right? What is the example? In the darkness of the night, when you are going somewhere, there is a piece of rope lying on the roadside. And because of the darkness, you misunderstand it to be a snake. Now you are seeing a snake. The moment you see a snake, you start asking hundreds of questions about the snake. From where did the snake come? Which kind of snake is it? Is it a black cobra? Is it a viper? What kind of snake? How come it is here? Is it poisonous or non-poisonous? Now please tell me, the snake in bracket which does not exist, can it be poisonous or non-poisonous? No. Can you say it is a black cobra or a viper? No. The only answer which can be given for all the questions is that there is no snake. Why? Because if I say the snake is poisonous, it will mean that snake is there. If I say no, snake is non-poisonous, still it will mean that snake is there. But you are seeing snake. So some answers has to be given. The only true answer which can be given is there is no snake. But that will not satisfy you. Why? Because you are experiencing. How can you say there is no snake? I can see it. That's what we argue also with all the Vedantins also, with all the sadhus and Mahatmas. How can you say there is no world? I can see the world. That you are saying doesn't mean it is true. Everything that we see is not real. We see sunrise every day in the morning. We see sunset in the evening. Does it mean that there is sunrise and sunset? What are you talking? Does the sun rise or set? No. Sun is just there. Earth is rotating around itself, and that's why we have feeling that sun is rising in the east and setting in the west, etc., etc. There is no sunrise, there is no sunset. We experience sun rising, but we say sun is not rising. We don't experience the movement of the earth, but we know that the earth is moving. So something that we see need not be true. Something that we experience doesn't mean that it is real. So the world that we are experiencing doesn't mean that just because we are experiencing it is real. No, it is not. Umpteen number of examples can be given to explain this. We look at the sky, we think that we see that it is blue. But you ask any scientist, any physics professor, they will say that the earth, the sky is colorless. How am I seeing the blue color then? It is because of the reflection and refraction of light. It is also because of the limitation of our vision. Various reasons. The point is what we see need not be real. I am seeing a snake, that need not be real. And therefore, if I am asking lots of questions about the snake, the only right answer is there is no snake. If you ask me a question how that snake has come, what can I say? Once upon a time there was a rope, and then what? Slowly the rope started to transform into snake, and then after some years it became a complete snake. The theory, the story is good, but it is not true. Or you can say, no, there was rope and suddenly one moment it became snake. Again the story is good, but it is not true. So any question that we ask about the world, we have to remember that we have to remain in that what we say concept of Maya and answer. Why? Because in the true sense, there is no world, there is no Maya, so there is no discussion about the cause of the world. So when we experience the world, when we are asking the question, what is the cause of the world? On thinking, we understand that nothing which is the part of the world can be the cause of the world. Other than world, there are only two things, Brahman and Maya. When we say two things also, please remember, Brahman alone is real in those two things. The another is unreal, apparent Maya. So though I am saying that there are two things, don't think that I am talking about Dvaita. No, there is only one reality, that is Brahman. But there is another illusory, imaginary power which is called as Maya. Now again, I don't want to derail from the discussion, but also one point that we must understand is Maya is not a concept which is brought in by Shankaracharya and such masters after him. Okay, many people they say that they call Shankaracharya as Mayavadi. He brought the concept of Maya. That is not true. The Maya concept is existing in Vedas, in Upanishads, in Bhagavad Gita. Everywhere the concept of Maya is there. It is not brought in by Shankaracharya, etc. The point is the concept of Maya is brought in to solve our unending questions about the world and the creation of the world. Brahman without the power of Maya cannot create, because Brahman is one without a second. There exists nothing. What can it create? Maya without Brahman also cannot create, because it is inert. It is dependent on Brahman. And therefore we say Brahman plus Maya, which we otherwise call as Ishvara, is the creator of the world. Now understand, from the world, when you remove this Ishvara, world will not remain. When you remove the existence or you remove Maya, the world will not exist. And therefore we say that the Ishvara, Lord, is the cause of the world. Now, Ishvara is the cause of the world. Okay, fine. I agree. What kind of cause? See, Ishvara we said is Brahman plus Maya. Okay. What kind of cause is this Ishvara? Is it efficient cause, nimitta karana, like the doer of any work? Or is it upadana karana, material cause, like clay for pot, like a cause for effect? Now, we are not going to answer this question right now, but we will see it in 7th or 8th verse, okay, when the topic will come. Right now we understand that Ishvara, which is Brahman plus Maya, is the cause of the world. That much understanding is sufficient for now. Okay. Again, let us not forget what we have studied before. Ishvara doesn't have one particular form, and therefore it can take any form. It can express in and through any form. Right? Earlier we also saw that to rule everything, that Ishvara has to pervade everything. So it pervades everything and rules it. This is also concept we should not forget. Now, let us move forward and let us understand few more logics, few more kinds of thinking to rest this case whether God exists or not. Let us see verse number 4. One more very, very simple logic is given. Alpascha jivopi bahumanyate swam swasmad vina karma shakyam namanyate prabhor vina sarva vishvam tu sambhavet kimayam vicharo na hyupekshaniyaha. Alpascha jivopi bahumanyate swam swasmad vina karma shakyam namanyate prabhor vina sarva vishvam tu sambhavet Kimayam vicharo na hyupekshaniyaha. Beautiful. One more logic Guruji is giving. We just now said that God is the cause of the world. Some people still say, no, Vedji, we don't agree. Okay, now you answer me this. Jivaha alpaha. Individual is limited. Api, though it is limited, swam bahumanyate. That individual considers oneself to be great. This is our experience at all times, isn't it? What do we say? Please give my introduction properly. Why? Let everybody know who I am. And sometimes that is not sufficient. So therefore what do? We put all those, we call it as upadhis in Hindi, etc. We say, no? Outside the house also we put board. What? Brahmachari Ved Chaitanya. BE Electronics Telecommunication, comma. MA Sanskrit, comma. PhD in whatever subject. And then we keep on adding those things. MA, LLB, double LLB, LCWA, this A, that A. Why? People should know who I am. We are so limited. Individual we are. We have little bit of power, little bit of knowledge, little bit of understanding, little pervasive we are, and we think that we know everything, we are great. Bahumanyate so. Not only that, swasmad vina karma shakyam na manyate. Swasmad vina karma na shakyam iti manyate. The jiva individual also considers manyate what? Swasmad vina karma na shakyam. Without me, work will not happen. In a bubble we all live. This is the bubble that we live in. That we think we are great and without us nothing will happen. Veji, what to tell you? When I went for the program there was nothing. Nothing was happening. Then what? We did something, we brought chairs from here and table from there, and we did all this thing. 20 years back, if you would have come here, there was nothing. There was no mission center. There was nothing. Nothing was there. I built this. Okay, acha, you built. What did you build? This building. I built. Acha. Which part of the building did you build? The brick, the stones, the sand, water. What did you build? You tell me. No. Not like that. Not that we have done anything. Actually, workers did, but I made sure that it happened. Arey, my dear, we have no capacity to create a single thing. We do such big talks and we feel that, we are this great and that great and we can do anything. And nowadays, very irritating things have also started, that in the social media, etc. To what is confidence building, confidence boosting. For that confidence boosting, they do big things. They say big things about us. What is not possible for a human being? Everything is possible. It's all correct only. I am not arguing on that. But I am saying because of that, somehow we have started to feel that we have done everything on our own. We have started to think that we have created everything. Actually speaking, we cannot create anything. You see, there are only few things that we can create. Vedji, just now you said you cannot create anything. No, listen to me. No material can we create new. We may say that, we have now developed laptops and we have created laptops, but it is still made up of 5 elements only, isn't it? Which is made by God. So it's not that we have developed some new thing. Using the same material which God has given us, we have remodeled it and used it. It is like a child gets that clay, the clay that takes different shape, that game is there, So child gets that clay, and with that clay he makes the new things, and he shows it to his parents and says, see, I created this. And the parents also become happy and they say, oh wow, nice design, etc. But the fact of the matter is, he is only designing new things using the same material. Somehow we feel that, we have created new things. I can do anything. Actually speaking, we cannot create anything. The only thing that we can create is confusion, is problem, mistakes. These are the things that we can create. Human beings are capable of creating. All other things are created by God only. Think about it. Confusion is what we can create. Very good we are all in creating confusion. Something, a simple thing is there. You listen to something from somewhere. You have to tell the same thing to somebody. You say you understand it differently. You didn't hear properly and you tell something else, only confusion you have created. That is all we can create. Nothing great we can do alone. That is the point. Alpasya jivaha api bahumanyate swam. This jiva is individually so limited but still considers oneself to be great. Swasmad vina karma shakyam na manyate, and also believes, considers that without me work is not possible. Many of us also have this feeling, no? That everything is going on because of us. A very funny feeling. I remember when I was in Yuva Kendra, college days, no, we used to go to Pune Center, Chinmay Mission Center, and when Swamiji was there, and sometimes we get over enthusiastic about some little work that we have done, and we used to go to Swamiji and used to tell, Swamiji, there was nothing, and then we went and then we did that and we did. Swamiji, suppose I was not there, what would have happened? Swamiji used to say very calmly, the work would have happened better. If you were not there, the work would have been done by somebody else. It is God's work. It will happen. It is Gurudev's job. It will happen. You feel grateful that you got chance to do this. Don't feel arrogant that it is happening because of you. No, it is not. See, in our own life, everything is happening because of God. How can we do anything in other people's life? But we think that work will not happen without me. Now, if we have this thinking about ourselves, Prabhor vina sarva vishwam tu sambhavet. Now, you say that no work can happen without me, but the world has come about without the Lord. Kim ayam vicharaha nahi upekshaniya. Don't you think that this vichara, this thought, this understanding is upekshaniya? Upekshaniya means worthy of condemning, worthy of ignoring. Don't you think that this thought is not even to be taken seriously? Why? Because if a small work cannot happen without me, how can you think that the world can be there without God? How can we even think of anything like that? So this thought is condemnable. It is something like a wave of the ocean that emerges from the ocean, exists in the ocean, merges back in the ocean, denies the existence of the ocean only. Is it not a foolish thought? Every single atheist, the so-called non-believer who says that I don't believe in God, is able to say this by the power and grace and blessings and compassion of the same Lord. The same Lord has given that person power to speak, power to think, power of the body. Using those powers, the fellow is saying that I don't believe in God. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? In childhood, I remember in school, we used to play this game, that we will say exact opposite thing of what we are doing. Means, for example, suppose I want to say that, you are very great, or what, you think you are very great, don't do shining. Maharashtra school language, shining is showing off. Don't show off. Now I will show off myself and I will tell other person don't show off. This is the game that we used to play. We will talk in English and tell other person don't talk in English. We will talk in Hindi and say, oh, don't talk in Hindi. So that kind of game we used to play in school, but somehow we have been playing that game throughout our life. We do everything by the grace of the Lord and still manage to deny the existence of the same Lord. How funny. Not even funny. It is condemnable. That's what Guruji says here. Kim ayam vicharaha upekshaniya. Nahi upekshaniya. Is it not that this thought, this kind of feeling that the wave has, the wave that exists, merges and goes back into the ocean, denies the existence of the ocean, or considers that wave considers itself to be higher than, bigger than the ocean. Is it not a funny thought? an individual denying the existence of God, an individual feeling that I am greater than God. People even go to an extent where they say that God is a concept created by human being and therefore human being is the creator of God. What foolish thing are we talking about? Tomorrow you will say that computers have been creating the human beings. No, my dear. Human beings have created computer. It cannot be other way around. In the same way, God has created the entire world. God has created us. We cannot say that I have created God. We cannot deny the existence of the God. We cannot say that I know everything. All these things we cannot say. Why? It is foolish to say all these things. Right? So, alpasya jivaha api bahumanyate swam. Right? We are very limited, but still we think that we are great and without me nothing can happen. But if we really think like this, then how can we imagine that the world was there before without God? The world that existed before me is surely not created by me, but how can we deny the existence of God and say that the world came on its own? No, it's not possible. The world, if it is there, it has to have come from God. There is no other alternative. So, till now, Guruji has given various reasons to resolve this dispute of existence of God, belief in God. First, he said that because it is beyond all imaginations and therefore people have different kinds of imaginations, we use concepts about God. Then he said in the second verse that God's glory is so evident, still we have disbelief on God, which is a wonder, which is a surprise. Third thing, he said that even in the world, small actions cannot be there without the doer. How can we imagine that the world was there without the doer, without the creator? And fourth verse, one more logic he gave, that as human beings, though we are limited, we think that we are great and without us nothing can happen. And how can we imagine that the world was there without God? The world is there without God. How can we even imagine that? Even the thought is to be condemned. Now, in the fifth verse, Guruji gives the final logic. What is this final logic he is giving? It's the brilliant logic, most brilliant logic that I have ever heard to explain, prove the existence of God. What is that? Let us see. Verse number 5. Vivadymanattvadeva tasya satta prakashate asattvannarashringasya vivado naiva jayate. Vivadymanattvadeva tasya satta prakashate asattvannarashringasya vivado naiva jayate. He says, I agree that there is a dispute, there is a confusion, there is a debate, there is a discussion about the existence of the Lord, whether He exists or not. Now the logic Guruji gives is, because there is a dispute, God exists. What is the logic he is giving? Vivadyamanatvadeva tasya satya prakashate. Since there is a dispute, it proves that there has to be something. Why? Because if there is nothing, there cannot be even dispute about it. Asattvat narashringasya. Nara means human being. Shringa means horns. Narashringasya asattvat. Since the horns of a human being do not exist, vivado naiva jayate. Do you hold any symposiums and workshops and seminars, etc. to discuss? What is the topic of the seminar? The topic of the seminar is horns of the man. Whether human beings have got horns or not. Such seminars, such symposiums, etc. are not required. There is no dispute about it. Why? Because they don't exist. There will arise a dispute about something which exists. If something doesn't exist, there will not be any dispute on it also. Now, if you are saying that there is dispute about God, it proves that there is God. See, I tell you, this is the best logic possible. You cannot have a simpler logic than this. How do you prove that there is God? The very fact that you are asking this question proves that there is God. Why? Because something that doesn't exist, you will not even ask question. In Vedanta, this asat, non-existent things are explained in some terms. Narasringa is given here as example, but generally we say Shashavishana. Shashavishana is horns of hare, horns of the rabbit, which also don't exist. Or Khapushpam. Khapushpam is sky flower. Flowers come in the earth. Okay, in the sky, flowers don't come. Or Vindhyaputra, son of a barren lady. Barren lady cannot have children. So something which does not exist at all cannot be even disputed. In the sense that it cannot be even topic of discussion or topic of debate or topic of various conclusions, various views. So the very fact that there is confusion about God, very fact that there is discussion about God, the very fact that there is dispute about the existence of the God proves that God exists. I had told you in the beginning only, Guruji's one special quality is simplicity. You see how simple logic he has given to prove the existence of the Lord. What is the logic? Because there is a dispute, God exists. See, we even in our worldly, talks also, when we are talking casually also, we have all these things. We always say, that whenever there is some rumor, there has to be some truth in it. Without some fact, even the rumor will not start. There has to be some fact. Isn't it? So, if there is a dispute about God, that God has to exist to start the dispute. Something has to be there. So, the dispute about the existence of the Lord proves the existence of the Lord. Vivadyamanattvadeva tasya satta prakashate. Its existence is proved because the existence is debated. Right? Traditionally, also one example we see in Atma Bodha, etc., that there is sun which is covered because of clouds. It's covered from our vision because of clouds. You must have heard this example also. No, please remember, clouds we say are covering the sun. But you please tell me, how do we see the clouds? In the light of the same sun. Isn't it? The clouds which, so to say, are covering the sun are seen in the light of the same sun. So to say that because the sun is covered by the clouds, sun doesn't exist is utterly foolish. Why? Because it exists. Even the clouds which are, so to say, covering the sun are seen in the light of the same sun. Right? So something about which there is a dispute, that thing has to exist, number one. Now the question is, if God's existence is so clear and evident, why do people not believe in Him? Let us not talk about idealistic now. Let us talk practical. Okay, all logic is correct. Okay, so far we have seen so many logics. Because God is beyond all thoughts and therefore no thought can reach and therefore there is a confusion. Okay, fine. Number two, we have also seen that, each organization needs a head. Like that, this cosmos also needs a head. Therefore, God has to be there. Number three, we saw that any small thing, work, effect in the world cannot be without the doer, without the cause. So, if the world is there, it has to have a cause. We also saw in last verse that this individual with limited power also thinks that he is everything and without him things cannot happen. Then how can we imagine that world is there without God? And finally, we saw one more logic which said that because there is a dispute about God, it proves that there is God. Now, having said that, having clearly established that God exists, the question is, why do people don't believe? Many answers can be given, many reasons can be given. Let us see few things. something which is clearly seen by all, there is no dispute. Something which is clearly seen by all, which is a matter of common knowledge, there is no confusion about it. Example I will give. What is this? Can you see this? What is this? This is a watch. This is a wristwatch. Now, there is no dispute about this wristwatch. There can be dispute about whose wristwatch it is. Is it mine or is it somebody's which I have taken? All that can be there. But this is a wristwatch. There is no confusion about it. Why? Because it is a matter of common knowledge. Something which is clearly seen can have no dispute. Something which doesn't exist at all also cannot be disputed. Just now we saw Narashrunga. Asatvat, if it is non-existent, vivadha naiva jayate, there will not be any dispute about it also. So dispute arises for what? Dispute arises for something which is not clearly seen but which exists. Careful. Something which is not a matter of common knowledge, common experience, but it exists, that can have discussion, debate, dispute about. You can have discussion about that. Now, why there is so much of variety of opinions about God? Because we don't see God. We don't experience God. Why? Because we have understood certain concept of God and therefore we think that we have not experienced God. I remember when I was in school, I'm talking about few years back, when computers and mobiles etc. were not very readily available. So I remember my father from his office brought one printout for me to read. It was a kind of article. A 2-page article was there. Very interesting article my father found, so he took a printout and he brought it for me, and I remember reading it. And this article was about the existence of the Lord. And the article was in a form of a story. I had a dialogue between a teacher and a student. A young boy, his name is Krishna, I still remember. And the teacher is asking that Krishna somehow believes that there is God. And the teacher is saying there is no God. So the student, the small boy, proves to the teacher how the God exists. And very, very beautiful article was there, and that Krishna, that boy says that, sir, why do you think that there is no God? So the teacher says, because I believe in science. And science says that whatever you experience, that is the only reality. If anything I can see or hear or smell or touch or taste, that is the reality. If it is not perceivable by 5 sense organs, it does not exist. Krishna, that boy, smiles at the teacher and says that I have some question. So the teacher says, yes, please tell. Is there anybody in here who has seen your brain? Teacher, you are talking so much. Is there anybody who has seen your brain? No. Heard your brain? No. Smelled, tasted, touched. Anybody has done that? No. So does it mean that there is no brain? You don't have a brain? Can we conclude like that? You see, now at that age when I was reading this article, I found the logic to be very, very good. That just because I don't see it doesn't mean it is not there. Just because I don't see it, it may be because of the problem with my vision. Just because I don't see it, it doesn't mean that it is not there. Right? This is something that we need to understand very, very clearly. So, though we say that people don't believe in the existence of God because it is not seen, but it is not the right logic to not believe in God. Number one. Number two, in Vedanta and in other darshanas also, we speak of different pramanas, different means of knowledge. Seeing or perceiving is not the only means of knowledge. The pratyaksha pramana is only one kind of pramana. There are 5 more pramanas. right? Pratyaksha, then there is, most important thing is Anumana Pramana. Anumana is inference. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi, Shabda Pramana. 6 types of pramanas are spoken of. Nyaya speaks of four of these pramanas. Mimamsa speaks of remaining 2. Vedanta combines both the views and says there are 6 kinds of pramana. So Pratyaksha is only one kind of pramana. Like the student asked about the brain of the teacher, it cannot be seen, but it can be inferred that the brain is there and it is functioning. See, I cannot experience or explain to anybody electricity. What is electricity? Can you see the electricity? No. Can you hear it? Can you smell it? Can you touch it? Can you taste it? No. Do you mean to say that there is no electricity? No. We can infer that there is electricity. How? Because light is glowing. Through that we can infer. So inference is another means of knowledge. Right? So there are various means of knowledge. Now the problem here is, Ishvara, God is somebody who is beyond perception, beyond logic, beyond inference, beyond intellectualization. And that is why there is a dispute, there is a confusion about existence of God. Not because it doesn't exist, but because it is not available for experience. So God's existence is disputed because we don't experience God. Why don't we experience God? Because we have not understood what is God. I hope the point is getting communicated. Right? So, what is said here is Vivadyamanatvad tasya satta prakashate. By the very fact that there is a dispute, it proves the existence of the God. No. If God exists, what is that God? Now, so far what we have seen, that God is that existence, that Brahman plus Maya who has created the whole world. But having understood this, still some kind of question remains for a human being. That question is posed now in the next verse, and the answer is also given. Let us read that, and then we will come to the next point. Verse number 6. Drishtante ya uktas sakarta shariri tatha na karta jagatosya drishyate abodhasya lokolpa balas tathaiva kimesha devo bhavitum tatharhati. Drishtante ya uktas sakarta shariri tatha na karta jagatosya drishyate abodhasya lokolpa balas tathaiva kimesha devo bhavitum tatharhati. Now the student is asking question. Okay. You have just now proved to me that existence of the Lord is a fact. Why? Because the very fact that there is dispute about it proves the existence of the God. Agreed. Now let us go to the next question. What is the next question? What is the nature of this God? What are you calling as God? Okay, there has to be cause of the world. Agreed. The cause of the world has to be different from the world. Agreed. It cannot be just an inert cause, it has to be sentient cause. Agreed. It has to be powerful, everything agreed. Question is, in the world we see some kind of causes. That is what he is saying. Drishtante yaha uktaha. This is a question from a student. The 6th verse is a question. What is he saying? Drishtante, in the example. Which example are we talking? We are talking about the example from the verse number 3. Geetam. You remember? Geetam, Vadyam, Nrityam, Natakam, Bhavana, what is that? Bhavana Nirmana Karya api. So that karta which was spoken of there, where we had said that if there is a work, there has to be a doer of that work. If there is a song, there has to be singer. If there is a dance, there has to be dancer, etc. We had seen. Now, in that drishtanta, yah karta uktah, the doer which was spoken of in that example, shariri, was a embodied person which we could see. If there is a song, there has to be a singer. Agreed, but that singer is seen by us. We can show, okay, this is the singer. We can show for this building, which you can see in front, he is the architect, he is the engineer, these are the people who have worked for this. We can show. Why? Because all the creators, all the doers are shariri. They are embodied ones. But tathana karta jagatosya drishyate. But the creator of the world is not seen like that. Show me. Show me. If you say that the world is there and therefore there has to be creator and God is the creator of the world, show me God. Show me. Where we should go? Should we go to Kailash? Should we go to Himalayas? Where should we go to see the temple? Come to the temple, I will show you God. That is a murti. That is an idol of the Lord. That is not the Lord. That has not created the world. So God cannot be shown like this. Why? Because God is ashariri. God is not having akara. No, we said saguna nirakara it is. So a kind of creator that we have seen, God is not like that. And therefore, abodasya lokaha alpabalas tathaiva. And therefore in the world, the kind of creators which are there, they are abodha, they are having limited knowledge. Alpabala, they are having limited power. Now my question is, kimesha devaha bhavitum tatharhati? Eshaha devaha tatha eva bhavitum arhati kim? Is this God also of the same nature? Understand the question. What is the question? You had given some examples and using that examples you had proved the logic. You said that in the world also if there is an effect there has to be a cause. In the world also if work has happened then there has to be doer. Correct. That's what you used. Now you applied this drishtanta, this example to the siddhanta, to the principle, and you said that in the same way if there is world there has to be the cause of the world. There has to be the doer who created the world. You are using an example. Please use appropriate example. Why? Because in the example, the karta, the doer is an embodied being. Whereas in case of the cause of the world, there is no body that we see. We don't see God in flesh and blood like we see all other doers. Now, if we cannot see that, now another aspect of the doer that we see in the world is the doer has got limited power, limited knowledge. Do you mean to say that the God also has got that limited power and limited knowledge? Kim? Is God of that nature? That is the question asked. Agreed, God exists. Agreed. Question is, what is that God's nature? Why is it not seen? Is that God having also limited power and limited knowledge just as all other doers have? That is the question which is asked now. Now, these are just few questions. There are many more questions which come to our mind. Earlier also we said, no, there are two types of causes. Nimitta karana and upadana karana. Efficient cause and material cause. Now the question will be, is God efficient cause or material cause, or is it both, or is it none? Sakari karana also there is another kind of cause. Instrumental cause. Which instrument is Bhagavan using, is God using to create the world? Which material has God used? See, potter using mud creates a pot. Right? Now in this case, you are saying that pot is like the world which is created. Okay? And God is like that potter. Now what is that mud that God has used to create the world? What is that material that it has used? The potter uses different kinds of instruments. That wheel is there and that stick is there to rotate the wheel, etc. What are those instruments that God is using to create the world? Answer all these questions. So though you have proved the existence of the Lord, you have to still prove the nature of the Lord. Why? Because there are so many questions about this. You gave example. Now that example is not matching with the God, with the actual principle. Drishtanta and Siddhanta are not matching. So now, Guruji himself is answering. He is only posing question as a student. Now as a teacher, he is answering. Let us read. Verse number 7. Satyam na jive na sadrishah pareshah yatha samartho na baddho asamarthavat achintya shaktif parameshwaro bhavet nachashritasah karnadivastushu. Satyam na jive na sadrishah pareshah yatha samartho na baddho asamarthavat achintya shaktif parameshwaro bhavet nachashritasah karnadivastushu. What is it? Satyam. Satyam, my dear student, I agree with you. What? You are right. The example has got a karta which doesn't match with the God. God is not of that nature. You said correctly that in the world the doer which is there has got body, is embodied shariri, whereas God doesn't have body. Agreed, you are right. You said that the jiva individual who is the doer in the world is alpa buddhi, is alpa shakti, has got limited knowledge, limited intelligence, limited power. God is not of this nature. Agreed. And therefore, Pareshah, that Supreme Lord, Jivena Sadrishah na, is not like Jiva. Agreed. I take my Drishtanta back. I am not taking back. You see, understand that Drishtanta was not given to explain the nature of the Lord. Drishtanta was given to prove existence of the Lord. So what was the Drishtanta for? Drishtanta example was given for a simple reason that if an effect cannot be without a cause, if a work cannot happen without the doer, this work also should have a doer. Right? So Drishtanta should be taken in that context only. If you want to expand it, now I need to give you another example. I cannot give the same example. So now let me give example. What? Existence of the Lord is exactly like existence of the individual who is the creator, who is the cause. Agreed. Now nature of the Lord is different than jiva. Like what? Yatha samarthaha asamarthavat na baddhaha. A capable person is not bound like an incapable person. What kind of example is this? You see, an incapable person has got lot of limitations because of that person's incapability. A capable person is also a person, but is not bound by incapability. He has got capability. In the same way, existence of Ishvara is just like existence of Jiva. Jiva exists, Ishvara also exists. But Jiva is having very limited capacity. Ishvara doesn't have any limit to his capacity. So on the level of existence, both are same. But on the level of capacity, both are different. Jiva has got limited knowledge, limited power, limited pervasiveness, limited intelligence. Whereas Ishvara has got unlimited power, unlimited knowledge, unlimited pervasiveness and unlimited intelligence. Jiva is alpadnya, alpa shakti, alpa vyapi, alpa buddhi. Whereas Ishvara is sarvadnya, sarva shakti, sarva vyapi, sarva buddhi. That is the difference. Achintya shakti parameshwara bhavet. The Lord is achintya shakti. Achintya means unthinkable. Chintanam kartum na shakyate, achintya. So God has got power which is unthinkable. Unthinkable means unimaginable. Means what? Immeasurable power. Jiva has limited power and therefore using that limited power he creates limited things. Agreed. God has unlimited power. Nacha ashritaha saha. And also saha ashritah na. He is not dependent. Dependent on what? Karana adi vastushu. He is not dependent on instruments etc. to create. So what is the point that Pujya Guruji is bringing out here? That the nature of Ishvara is, he is swatantra, sarvadnya Sarvashakti, Sarvavyapi, Mukta, Ashariri. These are all the words that have come from the discussion itself. Jiva is Shariri, Ishvara is different from him, therefore Ashariri. Jiva is Alpadnya, Ishvara is Sarvadnya. Jiva is Alpashakti, Ishvara is Sarvashakti. Jiva is Alpabuddhi, Ishvara is Sarvabuddhi. Jiva is Alpavyapi, Ishvara is Sarvavyapi. Jiva is Baddha, Ishvara is Mukta. Jiva is having an end, Shanta. Ishvara is Ananta. Achintya Shakti. That is the nature of God. In other terms, God, carefully note what I am saying, God is the single cause. God itself or himself is the efficient cause and also the material cause. And also that God doesn't require any other instrumental cause. So the questions were asked, now the answers are given. The question was, is God efficient cause or a material cause or neither or both? Answer is, God is both efficient as well as material cause. And what about the Sahakari Karana? What about the instrumental cause? God doesn't need any other instrumental cause. Na karanadi vastushu ashrita. That is the nature of God. Now, little more thinking we have to do about God being efficient and material cause both, which we will do in the next session. Okay, today too much we have already seen. So that will be the first topic of tomorrow's first session, right? We will start with the discussion of how God is the efficient and material cause both. In technical terms, it will be explained as abhinna nimitta upadana karana. So God is abhinna nimitta upadana karana. At the same time, he is the material cause also and efficient cause also, and he doesn't require any supplementary or instrumental cause. That is what God is. Okay. Sufficient for now.
Thank you.
We will go to questions.
Absolutely. Because I think there is so much more that one needs to delve in on some of these topics and concepts more and more. And but definitely the way you have explained and made it simple for us was very, very interesting for us. So some questions have come up. One of the questions is, how come one mantra is more powerful than the other when it is only one God?
Now you tell me, if there is only one God, then can there be one mantra more powerful than the other? No, there cannot be. You see, mantra gets power because of the person who is chanting the mantra. Mantra itself has got power of its own. That is true. That is true for a specific purpose. Like for example, you go to a doctor, they will give you a specific medicine. So when a specific mantra is given to remove one specific thing from our life, that's a different matter altogether. But generally when we are talking about general mantra of any God, whether it is Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namo Narayanaya or Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, no, you cannot say that one of these mantras is more powerful than the other. That is not possible. That is not possible. Why? Because they all are talking about God and God is one. So there is no mantra which is more powerful than other mantras. It may be there that for certain person, certain mantra is given as a preference. That is possible. They will say that Gayatri mantra you please do. That is not because Gayatri mantra is more powerful than the other mantras. That is because Gayatri mantra is more suitable for you at this point of time. Mantra gets power by the person who is doing it. Okay? So there is no such concept.
Thank you. Sometimes it is said everything happens as we deserve, whereas sometimes it is also said that the thoughts are the causes for all that happens in our life. how to understand these different aspects.
Sometimes it is said that everything happens on its own, or sometimes it is said that the
Our thoughts are the cause.
both are same only. Everything happens according to our own actions. The present actions or the past actions. The past actions, past thoughts are also mental actions only. So I am not going to distinguish thoughts as something else. Our past actions have given rise to our present situation. And our present actions combined with the past actions are creating our future situations. So everything that happens is the result of our own actions, our own thoughts.
One interesting question has come is that in order to experience God, one needs the anugraha. How can one receive this anugraha from the God?
You see, God's anugraha, compassion, kripa is always available to all. Good that the topic has come. I will explain little elaborately about this compassion of the Lord or the grace of the Lord. How do we become deserving of the grace? That's the question, isn't it? See, what is God's grace that we need to understand? What is the nature of God's grace that also we need to understand? Sometimes people think that God favors a few people and therefore blesses few people more than the other people. It is not true. God is sama. Again and again Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu, name dveshosti na priya. Again and again he brings this point that God is sama, God is equal to all. So his compassion, his blessing is on all at all times. How can we, what we say, how can we experience this blessing or grace? By knowing that we are being blessed. Example that is generally given for explaining the nature of the God's grace is like, God's grace is like sunlight. It is available to everyone, but one who puts panels etc., one who puts the solar panels etc., takes the sunlight and converts it into energy and uses it completely. Or sometimes it is said God's grace is like the rain. Rain is falling everywhere, but the one who what do you say, accept that rains properly and takes use of that water and uses that will be benefited more. Sometimes it is also said that God's grace is like the fire. Okay, suppose you are feeling cold and you sit away from the fire, you will not get any warmth. If you want to experience the warmth, you have to go nearer to the fire. In the same way, God's grace is always there. God is not partial towards few people. You have to go near God to experience his grace. So as we start understanding who is God and how he is influencing my life, or how he is doing everything in my life, actually, for that matter, the moment we start to understand this, we start to experience God's grace in everything. Our existence, our life itself is the grace of God. What to say about everything more than life? Whatever we have is grace of God. Right? More we understand it, more we go closer to God, more we understand his grace and experience also.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vedji. So can you say it's through knowledge only that can also happen?
Not necessarily. It can happen through knowledge, it can happen through devotion. I love God. That is sufficient to experience his grace. And it is rightly said that by his grace only we will have his darshan. We will experience him. How to become eligible for his grace? How to become eligible means start to appreciate God. Start to understand his presence in us. Start to understand that he is the one who is doing everything. I always say this, and there is one very beautiful prayer. My mother does it every time before going to sleep. So as a child, I never used to understand, but I used to hear because she used to say it loudly. And that beautiful prayer was that, oh God, I am just translating in English. Oh God, may your grace be always upon us, and may we recognize that your grace is always upon us. Now, second part is actually the prayer. The first part, may your grace be upon us, is not a prayer because it is already upon us. May we recognize that His grace is there. The moment we start recognizing His grace is there, His grace starts to take shape and we get to experience God. Okay? That is how it is.
Thank you, Vedji. And so one of the seekers is asking the recording. So yes, the sessions are available on our Facebook page. You can search for the Advaita Academy or Indica Moksha, Indica Moksha on Facebook. And on YouTube, please search for Advaita Academy YouTube channel. You can find all the recordings of not just this series, but many more series which he had posted in the past. One more question, Vedji. It was said that God cannot be experienced, but Advaita also says that purpose of life is to experience God.
Yeah, both are right. When you say God cannot be experienced, what they mean is God cannot be experienced as an object. As I am experiencing the watch, as I am experiencing the TV, God cannot be experienced as an object. But Advaita says you can experience God as subject. By being God, you can experience God. By being that Brahman, who is the essence of that God also, we can experience God. So both are right. When it is said that God cannot be experienced, correct. As an object, it cannot be experienced. But what is the goal of life? Experience God. Experience God means to realize God as the subject. Both are right. Next.
So, what of the statement, Aham Brahmasmi? Is there any difference between God and my own nature?
Let us wait for this question. At some point of time, it will be answered within this. But just to give you a short answer for this, when it is said Aham Brahma Asmi, there that Aham is talking about my nature, Brahman is talking about God's nature, and Asmi is saying that the both are same. The real nature of God and the real nature of an individual is one and the same, and that is Brahman.
Thank you, Vedji. We will conclude the session now.
Few more questions are there in my place. I will just read.
There is one more. Is thought generated by past karma?
Is it thought generated by our past karma? So, not necessarily thought generated by our past karma. The situations, the surroundings that we get itself is created by our past karma, not just thought. One more question was there about Maya. That Maya needs to be explained in an elaborate manner. I didn't understand Maya. No problem. We will deal with that topic of Maya. Right.
Thank you so much, Vedji. Dear viewers, we will continue our series tomorrow as well. Same time, the morning session will be at 10 a.m. and the evening session will be at 4 p.m. Please do join us. Looking forward to the upcoming sessions. Let us conclude the session.
Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.